The Diary of a Certified Psychopath. Off the crank. After queuing in the next disc in my father's cherished vinyl collection, a compilation of Bach's most famous works arranged for full symphony orchestra by the legendary maestro Leopold Stokowski, perhaps most famous in popular culture for conducting the classical soundtrack to Disney's acclaimed animated musical feature Fantasia, I freely styled my way through an opening 5-minute quad and cortex primer, whisking meringue and mashing watermelons as mercurial fate saw fit, which took me on an appropriately wayward traverse to our kind shepherd's idyllic seaside sanctuary, where I reluctantly embarked upon a sequence of old, but not too cold-school postural intervals, based upon a novel system of compass points, or more specifically, my immediate orientation to a northerly fiend, deprived of frosty fangs, but wielding bluster that would be the envy of his 3 opposed brethren, on all but their most cyclonic form, stomped additional apertures into the cratered concrete throughout all periods when my back faced this Beaufort-bothering blowhard, which hammered every pole-bound weather vane I huffed past into flappy submission, then settled on my steed's sprung saddle to softly spin out all south and eastbound segments. Under Dr. Garmin's precarious watch, these directional overs and unders translated to measurably tough tempo microsurges that felt every beat as strenuous, but never once drifted above Zone Zen's zesty orange borders. Subtle negative inclines and unbreakable Newtonian laws helped nullify the resistance of my elemental nemesis throughout a modest spate of counterclockwise circuitry around our divine lord's roofless velodrome, though these blessings became curses once I'd ambled over to the mainland, most notably during 2 onerous grinds up Oxon Avenue, when my elevated instincts estimated that this suburban cul-de-sac's modest 3% gradient was effectively tripled by head-on gusts of over 40 miles per hour, meaning that at least 100 meters of turbulent ascent was accrued within less than a single kilometer. How do I know this? Because when travelling at an average velocity of well below half the referenced wind speed, one can easily find time to outcompute the ill-acclimatized algorithms of Strava's AI-assisted statisticians, who are probably listening to these very words and calculating which they could plagiarize for constructive use in one of their own patronizing summaries. Go ahead, you beady bots, and I'll sue you both for copyright infringement and defamation of character. All activities are recorded for quality and training purposes. A paraphrase of one message I dread hearing at the proverbial best of times, though is typically attributed to those all too common scenarios when one is compelled to do something they'd rather place on hold till the next ice age, most often involving endless waits in purgatorial call queues implemented by the customer care departments of an average service provider, hoping you'll eventually make contact with the last human member of their support team who has the authority to cancel a twice-paid utility bill. However, should such an intrusive caution ever appear in relation to my physical endeavours as a voluntary subscriber to any of today's omnipresent health and fitness platforms, before I'd even had the chance to politely decline or tap record, I'd squander no time in swiping it off the applicable touch screen and providing the following response. With heartfelt respect to the synthetic sports psychologists tirelessly tracking our concerted movements before conducting a forensic analysis of every step, stroke, squat and star jump in the name of machine-managed conditioning, you'll be far better off exercising your cardio-conscious algorithms elsewhere, for neither quality nor training is occurring in any great abundance here. Stiff joints, stray beaks. Roused at a civil hour, that is, for bats, badgers, or night-shifting lollipop pigeons ushering hedgehogs safely past crater-sized potholes, by what I initially perceived to be the fading patter of precipitation on PVC guttering. then became concerned that my prized steed, the one christened after a type of flying floor covering typically associated with Arabian fairy tales, and famously weaponized by the character of Aladdin in Disney's animated cartoon feature, had been left out of his stable following its recent Lazy Man's chain lube, which would have washed away every drop of the profitably rebranded fairy liquid that I'd meticulously applied to every thirsty link. By a stroke of fair, yet also foul fortune, I'd completed this routine maintenance moments before a baby herring gull blundered down onto the repurposed garden table that I'd been temporarily allocated as tool space, and spilt the entire bottle over its untreated marble surface, leaving an indelible green stain that shall no doubt incite the wrath of its maternal owner, who had just had the wrought iron base fully renovated. The suspected rain turned out to be the heavy footfalls of this unruly fledgling's panic-stricken parent, plodding back and forth across my pitched roof in an agitated state, having apparently encouraged her precious offspring to take wing without either a competent technique or sufficiently lengthy runway.